I'm standing here in the town where Murder, She Wrote was filmed, Mendocino, California, which feels like the exact perfect story to read you, which is from my book, Blinded by His Puppetry Skills, and it's about how my mentor in television ended up being a murderer.
Back in the 1900s, my mother read an ad in the newspaper. Make your own TV show, Public Access TV 23. Hello. Channel 23? Hi, my name is Danny. Nice to meet you. Thanks for taking my call. It says here that anyone can make a TV show. Does that mean me? I'm only 14. My voice cracked from the changes happening inside my developing body. Yep, replied Vicky. It's public access. Taxpayer supported. Anyone can do it. I gulped. In my Baptist right-wing household, I'd never heard a positive word about anything being taxpayer-supported. I assume you don't drive, she continued. If you can get a ride to the set, we'll teach you how to produce your own show. All those summers, not playing Atari and Nintendo, reading the New York Times articles about Jim Henson on microfiche at the Jenison, Michigan Library, were finally going to pay off. I was beside myself. Quick! What resources did I have? I looked around my bedroom, which was already something I called Pre-Production Studio A1. That sounded official. I dropped everything and made a sign for my door out of stencils and colored markers. I installed a red Christmas bulb outside my door that was meant to be a stage light. One of those lights you always saw outside the doors of Hollywood sound stages that alerted outsiders that recording was in progress. Do not enter. Back to my resources. What were they? My mom, a talented singer and pianist, lived on the stage floor right below Production Studio A1, as did my sister Sarah, who was old enough at 10 to do voices for the female roles. Now, who did I know that had puppets? Joan Thompson from church made incredible puppets. I would commission her to make me some puppets. Did she want to get in good with the youth pastor's son and secure her eternal destination? I'm sure she did. My dad was an influential youth pastor at our Baptist church of 485 people. Pastors are the celebrities, the public figures of suburban America. Being the son of a youth pastor gave me the kind of power Eric, Donald Jr., and Ivanka now enjoy. All of the congregants in my church had to do anything I asked of them if they wanted to make it into glory. I decided that I would be the star of Danny the Clown Show, a show geared towards preschool-age children. How do I get clown makeup? What is clown makeup? I've never been a clown before. As a matter of fact, I don't even like clowns. They're mid to extremely terrifying. No matter. It's an easy way to disguise my teenage insecurities and still have a lead performer for my TV show. I'll suck it up and be a clown. It's for the kids, after all. In my most ambitious producing move to date, I somehow located a man who had worked for the Ringling Brothers. He would be the first guest on my pilot episode and would bring his ventriloquism act to the show. I couldn't wait to see his dummy sidekick. My parents had purchased me a dummy named Willie a few years before, but I'd never really mastered the art of speaking through my teeth. The professional ventriloquist offered to do my makeup for the first episode and agreed to teach the other TV staffers how to apply it so they could make me up for future episodes. What a generous man he was. A makeup artist and a fascinating guest all rolled into one. He gave me a list of items I would need and the address to a clowning supply store in Grand Rapids. I called my grandpa and asked for a lift downtown. I had 4 retiree grandparents at my disposal, and it was time to put them to work. All they did was sit around and read National Geographic, keep up on President Reagan, who they said was making America great again, make tapioca from scratch, and watch mammals mate and kill on PBS. This was their chance to bond with their firstborn, the boy who had made them all grandparents in the first place. What an exciting opportunity for each of them. At the station, I met a 19-year-old young man named Bill Popchus. He loved producing television and, better yet, had a driver's license and happened to live in the same suburb of Jenison that I did. This was a big deal. TV 23 was located on Division Street in the metropolis of Grand Rapids. White children from the suburbs only went downtown for field trips to the museums, tours of the furniture factories, or for the very worst medical emergencies. TV 23 was located on Division Street, where my dad said homosexuals and prostitutes lived. I loved this imagery, picturing in my mind Julia Roberts playing Uno with Jim J. Bullock. What fun! As it turns out, future murderers were the real threat on Division. Bill Popchus and I became fast friends, and he produced the first 2 series I made, Danny the Clown Show and Adventures in Learning, the following summer. He was 5 years older than me, and I really hitched my ride to his station wagon. He drove me to the TV studio every Saturday. He knew about cameras, lighting, editing, sound recording, and writing. Every fundamental I now know about production, I learned from my mentor Bill in the summer of '87. He taught me how to create a fist with my index, middle, ring, and pinky fingers, and drop a puppet's jaw with my thumb, rather than flap the head up and down. He blinded me with his puppetry skills. He made performing in front of the camera seem easy. He taught me how to make eye contact with the camera, how to project my voice using my diaphragm, how to avoid cutting too much off the end of a scene when editing. He told us spellbinding promises of how he was going to build a Christian TV station in Grand Rapids, and asked me if, after high school graduation, I'd run the local original programming division. I could make any show I wanted to make. We were going to make Christian programming fun, hip, and cool. I could do kids programming, a talk show, or the Christian version of Seinfeld. Imagine the possibilities, with Stephen Baldwin as Jerry, a born-again stand-up comedian, always doing clean comedy bits about literal 7-day creationism. And what is the deal with evolutionists? Why do they hate God? Victoria Jackson as Elaine, Rush Limbaugh as George, Chuck Norris as Kramer, spelled with a C, so as not to infringe on the intellectual property rights of Castle Rock and NBC. If Larry David could write from a New York Jew worldview, I could do the same from a Midwestern born-again Christian perspective. That'd be super fun, and might win souls for the Lord. We do the Master of Your Domain episode, but in our sanctified version, the plot would revolve around how God gave Adam dominion over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air and every living thing. Bill and I loved dreaming big. We talked all weekend about how we could change religious television forever. For the 2 years following graduation, I labored at a grocery store while waiting for the Christian TV production empire to happen. And waited. And waited. Bill and I spoke on the phone every month or two. He was always this close to getting the funding he needed. Would I be able to start on a salary of $40,000 a year? Yes. I ate up his big promises. Having survived a stalker experience working at the grocery store, coming up in Chapter 13, I moved to Muskegon and worked at a Bible conference center in the dead of winter, wind chill factor on Lake Michigan coming in at 30 below. It was my job to repaint the inside of an uninsulated building. Every hour, I refilled the heater with more kerosene. It was all I had for survival. One day it was so cold, no joke, the paint I was rolling would freeze before adhering to the wall. I rolled on the blue paint and it froze instantly, then fell off the wall in chips. That's when I knew I was done with the Midwest for a while. I called Bill to check in and inform him I was off to a warmer climate. He was still this close to landing the financing. He just had to make a few more phone calls and dot a few more I's. I gave him my contact information in Florida. I was leaving the next week, but would return to Michigan if he ever got the Christian television network up and running. For the rest of the 90s, we lost touch. In early 2000, he found an article I'd written in a magazine and sent me a letter through America Online Electronic Mail, which is what we called email in those days. Hey, it's Bill Popchus. Is this the same Dan from West Michigan? My Danny the Clown friend? How the heck are ya? Where are you living? Can't believe you're writing for Christian magazines. How cool! I'm still working in Christian TV. We have to talk when you get the chance. Well, I've always been someone who loves to reconnect with old friends, so I was happy to hear from Bill, but I was preparing for my move to Los Angeles by this point, and I never really followed through. Felt like he was a well-meaning guy and had been a great friend to me and had taught me mad puppetry skills. But I was very busy rebuilding my life, so once again, we lost touch. In 2004, I was working on the NBC sitcom Whoopi when I got a call from my mom. Dan, honey, you might need to sit down for this. I sat. I think I just saw your friend Bill Popchus on the news. He's 20 pounds heavier, but it's him. Who else has a name like that? He's going away for murder. Wait, why is he on the local news in Florida? I asked. I thought he still lived in Michigan. I jumped online, and sure enough, there was my former friend, in handcuffs, convicted of brutally murdering a teenage boy with a flashlight. According to newspaper reports, Bill had been running scams in states from Michigan to Florida. He was posing as an entrepreneur, trying to buy TV towers to start up Christian TV stations. The Secret Service was after him. He had a 6-count federal indictment against him back in Grand Rapids, and he had bilked investors out of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Newspapers said Bill had legally adopted a teenage son named Christopher, and together they were moving state to state in a 39-foot RV, running scams on vulnerable religious people. Bill had met a 33-year-old woman named Donna and lived on her property. He started to fancy himself as a father figure to her son Josh, 14. At some time, he and his adopted Christopher wanted to move away and take Josh with him. When Donna told him no, Bill hit her over the head with a flashlight and bound her to a bed with duct tape while Christopher and her son watched. Days later, she freed herself, but her son Josh had already left town with Bill and Christopher. She wanted Josh back, but he had already been turned against her. From a payphone, the boy told his mother that he was going to stay with Bill because she was an unchristian, unfit parent. End quote. After a very long manhunt, investigators found Bill renting a house in Florida. They were looking into his financial scams and had no idea what they were about to find. When they knocked on the door, Bill and Christopher tried to flee and were quickly apprehended. The officers knew something was awry. Minutes later, they found the body of Josh in the bedroom closet. He had been killed several days before with a flashlight, bound in electrical cords wrapped in garbage bags. Bill avoided the death penalty by pleading guilty to first-degree murder and is serving a life sentence in a Florida prison. His adopted son Christopher pleaded guilty to second-degree murder. According to reports, Christopher was 14 when Bill adopted him. Josh was 14 when Bill murdered him. I was 14 when Bill befriended me. I don't know the connection between all three of us being that age when he found us, but it's certainly a creepy connection. People ask if Bill had been strange when he and I were close. I don't know how to reply. Was he murderous back then when we were filming Danny the Clown Show? I reply. No signs of potential murder. He was a good friend who lived in my neighborhood and wanted to help me make educational kids programming with puppets and a clown. I don't know when a seemingly decent person changes into someone capable of such heinous acts, but it happened to Bill. Choose carefully whom you decide to collaborate with. Prostitutes and homosexuals are not the threat, as my dad once claimed. They're usually very kind people. It's the murderers you should look out for.